Direct News TV. June 26, 2024. Israel war on Gaza live, bloody, brutal 24 hours of Israeli attacks. Israel's warplanes, artillery strike densely populated civilian areas in Gaza's north, center and south over previous 24 hours, killing dozens, with Israeli ground troops systematically demolishing residential homes in southern city of Rafah, Al Jazeera's correspondent in Gaza. The bodies of thousands of the missing children remain buried under the rubble, UNICEF deputy chief tells the UN Security Council in a briefing on Gaza. UK newspaper The Guardian has published an investigation into the Israeli military conduct that suggests that certain Palestinian journalists are viewed as targets for attack. Senior Israeli official, Olivier Rafouez, told one of The Guardian's media partners that there is no difference between working for a media outlet affiliated with Hamas and being a fighter in the group's Qassam brigades. Rafouez went on to elaborate that there is no difference between the political and the military wing of Hamas. Those statements prompted the Israeli military to release a correction and a retraction, saying that these are not its official standards. Intentionally targeting journalists is a war crime. U.S. military says Houthi radar site in Yemen destroyed. The U.S. military's Central Command, CENTCOM, has said that it has successfully destroyed a radar site in a Houthi-controlled area of Yemen. It did not provide more details of the attack in a post on X, but said the radar site presented an imminent threat to U.S. forces and vessels in the area. The Iran-backed Houthis have been carrying out attacks on vessels in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden since November in protest of Israel's war on Gaza. Israeli forces targeted with explosive device in Jenin, several injuries reported. Palestinian fighters in the occupied West Bank city of Jenin have struck Israeli forces with an explosive device, injuring several soldiers, according to local media. Local sources are reporting that as many as 12 Israeli soldiers were injured in the ambush, with some in critical condition. Footage from the scene shows Israeli helicopters evacuating the wounded. Earlier, we reported that the Israeli military arrested 3 Palestinians and wounded 1 other in Jenin and the Jenin refugee camp, after Israeli forces, supported by bulldozers, drones, and Apache attack helicopters, stormed the area on Wednesday evening. Israeli forces could send Lebanon back to the Stone Age, Gallant warns. Israel's defense minister Yoav Gallant has told reporters that Israeli forces could send Lebanon back to the Stone Age if the war between Israel and Hezbollah escalates. "We do not want war, but we are preparing for every scenario," he said. Gallant was wrapping up a 4-day visit to the United States, where he says he made progress securing support from the Biden administration for Israel's force build-up and weapons supply. The Israeli defense minister's U.S. visit came as the International Criminal Court, ICC, considers a request to issue a warrant for his arrest for alleged war crimes, including starvation, in Gaza. Gaza's civil defense says the levels of destruction after Israel's bombardment of Beit Lahia in the north of the Strip defies imagination. At least 15 Palestinians were killed in a strike on a home in northern Gaza on Wednesday. Rescue workers spent hours searching the rubble for survivors, with most of the injured being women and children. Al Jazeera's Moth al-Khalaut reports from the site of the attack on the residential building in Beit Lahia. 3 arrested, 1 wounded as Israeli military storms Jenin. The Israeli military has arrested 3 Palestinians during an ongoing raid in the occupied West Bank city of Jenin and the Jenin refugee camp, the Wafa news agency reports. Israeli forces, supported by bulldozers, drones, and Apache attack helicopters, stormed the city and neighboring camp on Wednesday evening, resulting in intense clashes with Palestinian resistance groups. Gunfire, tear gas, and explosions have been reported, with 1 Palestinian man wounded in the face by shrapnel, according to Wafa. Ambulance crews have been prevented from reaching the man and his condition is currently unknown. We will bring you updates on Israel's raid on Jenin when we have them. Ignoring Israel's abuses gave license to harm Palestinian children, envoy. Palestine's envoy to the UN Riyad Mansour says he regrets it took so long for Israel to be added to the UN Secretary-General's blacklist of countries that commit abuses against children in armed conflict. Speaking to a UN Security Council meeting held to discuss the blacklist, Mansour said that not adding Israel to the list earlier was an abandonment of Palestinian children, which Israel took as a license to harm them more. It took a genocidal war against our people, an unprecedented crisis for our children, to finally add Israel to the list of shame this year, he said. Israel, US very good at theater, analyst says of apparent dispute between allies. Analyst Rami Kauri says while there was a little hiccup in what he called the massive flow of weapons and money from the US to Israel amid the ongoing war in Gaza, it was not a major issue between the two close allies. The US and Israel are very good at theater, and this is theater that we're watching right now, Kauri, a professor at the American University of Beirut, told Al Jazeera. There's no closer relationship in the last half-century anywhere in the world probably than the US support for Israel. It's domestic theater, he said of the apparent dispute between the two allies over the speed of weapons transfers. Kauri pointed out that back in Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was in big trouble, and it played well to be seen to be tough with the US. He's fighting with people in his own party. He's fighting with his own military leaders. He's fighting with people all around the world, Kauri said. Netanyahu has almost run out of people that he can have a feud with. But by acting like a tough guy who stands up to the US and gets whatever Israel needs from the US, he strengthens some part of his base in Israel. And he's going to need that because his coalition is a little bit shaky, he said. My name is Kingsley. Please like, share, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to be notified whenever we post. You won't regret it.